Hey nerds, Alex here from Nerds Being Geeks, and today I'm here to talk about Hops Pokemon from the new set Journey Together and how it will affect Gym Leader Challenge. All the screenshots in this slideshow are taken from Justin Basil. Gotta give a shout out to him. His proxy cards are awesome. By the time this is released, I am sure that these cards will be out. But once again, thank you, justinbasil.com, for the translations. All right, Hops Pokemon. Let's talk about it. This is going to be a big change for GLC and more importantly for the Colorless deck. Hops Pokemon, he's got some EX cards, so we don't talk about that in GLC, but he's also got a couple of other cards like the Sandaconda, I believe. That's in fighting. But today we're talking about the Colorless Pokemon and the trainers that go along with them. Alright, so let's start out with Hops Dubwool. You're not using it for that attack. Challenge Horn. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, during your turn you may switch in your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. So it is basically boss's orders on an ability. Is this even worth putting in the deck for an extra boss's orders? I probably won't be playing this in any of my decks, but it is an option. And if you kind of want to control who is in the active spot for your opponent, this could be kind of a little bit more of a control card. Then again, you have cards like Guzma, who can also switch your opponent's active out, Escape Rope, versus Seeker to play Guzma and play boss's orders again. There's a couple of cards that are staples in GLC, so to add 2 cards just to get an extra boss's orders, I don't know if it's worth it. Alright, next up we have Hops Cramorant, 110 HP, Fickle Spit, 120 damage, 1 colorless energy cost. If your opponent doesn't have exactly 3 or 4 prize cards remaining, this attack does nothing. We've seen this kind of effect multiple times in GLC. People figure out a way to play it. 3 or 4 prize cards, that's a third of the game. 120 damage for 1 energy could be a game changer. And I'll show you why in a minute. So next up is Hops Snorlax. For 3 colorless energy, it does 140 damage. But this Pokemon does 80 damage to itself. But let's talk about the ability Big Belly. The attacks of Hops Pokemon do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Before applying weakness and resistance, the effect of Big Belly doesn't stack. If your ability isn't getting turned off, for 3 colorless energy, you're doing 170 damage. But you're also doing 80 damage to yourself. Does that matter? Maybe. But let's move on to the trainers, and that's where this gets really out of control. Hops Choice Band. When the Hops Pokemon this card is attached to uses an attack, that attack costs 1 less colorless energy and does 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So keep that in mind, because there's some combos that are building and we can kind of see where it's going. We got a Stadium, Postwick. The attack of Hops Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's, do 30 more damage to the opponent's active Pokemon before applying weakness and resistance. So we're seeing an energy reduction by 1, and we're seeing a total of 60 plus damage. If Snorlax is out there, that's another 30 damage. So you're kind of seeing how this is snowballing. And I don't know if this is going to see much play, but it is a Hops trainer. It may or may not end up in the colorless decks. Search your deck for up to 2 basic Hops Pokemon and put them onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. So it's basically a battle VIP pass at any point, but just for Hops Pokemon. It's basically like a buddy pop-in just for Hops basic Pokemon. It might see an inclusion in some of these Hops colorless decks, but really our main focus is that tool and the stadium. So let's start adding up some of this math. So you get a Hops Snorlax, you're doing 140 damage. Oh wait, you have a Hops Choice Band on there, that's another 30. On top of the Big Belly, you got Postwick in play, that's another 30. So that's an additional 90 damage on top of your 140 damage. And because of Hops Choice Band, your attack costs 1 less energy. So for 2 colorless energy, a double colorless, a twin energy, right off the rip, turn 1, going second, you can do 230 damage if you really wanted to. That is insane. That is an insane number. There is no basic that will survive turn 1 getting hit 230 damage. Well, I guess maybe something could survive if it had a Lux Cape on it. Let's move on to Hops Cramorant. So it's kind of the same thing. You use Choice Band, that's plus 30. Postwick, that's another 30. And you would do this for free. Because of that Hops Choice Band, you're going to be doing 180 damage. And if you have Snorlax on the bench, this Cramorant, for free, could be hitting 210 damage. Of course, your opponent has to have exactly 3 or 4 prize cards remaining. But if you play this right, you can do multiple knockouts and stall your opponent out at that 3 or 4 prize card mark. So how do you pull all this off? Turn 1, Guzma and Hala. Search your deck for a stadium, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. When you play this card, you may discard 2 other cards from your hand. If you do, you may search your deck for a Pokemon tool and a special energy card in this way. So for Snorlax, you're getting the stadium, you're getting the tool, Hops Choice Band, and you're getting the special energy of your choice. Double colorless, double turbo. Turbo will reduce it by 20, but you can still get it. And twin energy. Guzma is a staple in most GLC decks. It's an incredibly powerful card, and I think it'll help boost this archetype even more. Speaking about boosting this archetype, this is the introduction to Trainer's Pokemon, and you can see in the header that this card is Lily's Ribombee. So what that means is you can play a Ribombee and Lily's Ribombee in the same deck, because they are not technically the same named Pokemon. It's just like the Weezing and Galarian Weezing. I play both Weezing from 151 and the Galarian Weezing. Even though I play only 1 Coughing, I can still play 2 Weezing. So this leads to Snorlax. Everyone that follows Gym Leader Challenge knows about the unfazed fat Snorlax. It's basically a staple in Colorless. Well, now you can play Hops Snorlax as well. That does even more damage. So with Colorless being very overpowered, you know, there's talks when these cards were first announced of banning. I've heard talks of the Choice Band being banned because it does reduce the energy cost. It might be one of the double colorless energy, whether it's you can only play 1 double energy card in your deck, like twin or double turbo or double colorless. I don't know. We'll have to see how this all plays out. So in my conclusion, these Hops Pokemon for the colorless deck are just insane. Very OP, very turbo, can do massive amounts of damage for 2 or less energy, even for free. This set is going to be very disruptive. We're just gonna have to wait to see what Tricky Gym decides to do. Let me know your thoughts on Hops Pokemon. Do you think anything's gonna get banned? Do you think an energy card's going to get banned? Let me know your thoughts. Do you plan on updating your colorless deck with Hops Pokemon? You'd be silly not to play Hops Pokemon. Just a quick reminder, we are on the road to 500 subscribers. That is my goal for the end of the year. We're getting close. I appreciate all the support. So if you got a second, go ahead and like and subscribe. Any support is much appreciated. And thanks for watching.